All right, FightHype.com. Sean Zattel here with undefeated super lightweight George Rincon. Will be returning to the ring near his hometown in Fort Worth, Texas, March 20th on DAZN on the undercard of Vergil Ortiz taking on former world champion Mighty Mo Maurice Hooker. Man, thanks for joining me, George. I know you had an incredible amateur career, something like 200 victories and 30 losses in the amateurs. I just got to ask, who are some of the top guys that you faced in the amateurs that fans know about?
I faced Robert Easter Jr., Amir Iman, uh, Michael Reed, who else? Javante Clark, just to name a few.
Yeah,
So I've been in there with some of these guys. Yeah,
yeah. And
Jamel Herring.
you fought Jamel too. Wow.
Yeah,
Who won that fight, George?
I won it in a close fight. We fought at the State Golden Gloves, Texas State Golden Gloves. I guess he was stationed out in Texas, and I guess he fought in San Antonio. So we ended up fighting. Man, I remember what year it was. But yeah, it was a tough fight, close fight.
So he was in the service at the time.
I believe so. Yeah, because he was out in Texas, so that's why he fought from Texas or went to Texas.
There had to be people like, man, this military guy, he can fight. You know, he can fight. But
Yeah,
yeah, two of those guys, Jamel and Easter, went on to become world champions. So
yeah.
But that said, you've had 5 knockouts in a row. 7 of the last 8 fights have been knockouts for you. Why is that?
I think it's been staying busy. Getting comfortable in the ring. I can honestly say I don't see myself as like the hardest hitting guy, the fastest guy, but I do think that I do have some IQ and I'm pretty smart in the ring. And that just my boxing, footwork and stuff just allows me to really take my time and place my punches the right way. So that's where that pop comes from. But yeah, man, it's luckily everything's been going well so far, and that's where I believe that's where that comes from.
Is it like the guys don't see the punches coming because how you set it up, or is the speed the power, or?
Every fight was a little different, but for the most part, I just was just able to manage and set up my punches right. Stuff that obviously I'd been working on for a while, and so it transitioned into the fight, and it worked.
Now, Alex Martin is your opponent, March 20th on DAZN. He's got a solid record, 15 wins, only 3 losses, all 3 by decision. He's never been stopped. What do you think of Alex Martin?
So to be honest, I'm not sure if that was my opponent or not. I know he's fighting on the card. But as from what I know, or from the last opponent that I knew, he's a little tall, a little lanky. But I'm just going in there and just really focusing. I'm one of those guys who I do watch a little bit of film, but I don't necessarily watch too much, just because everything can change in the middle of a fight. I might be watching him fighting a right-handed guy, and obviously I'm southpaw, so he's going to switch that up. So I don't want to watch too much and expect him to fight a certain way. And then when I get in there, like, oh crap, he's moving the other direction, so now I got to switch up the whole thing. But I just kind of watch, just to kind of see his own little, watch a little bit of what they do, and then just kind of go off that. But really, I just really try to focus on just staying in shape, working on real basic stuff, and then just setting up my punches as I go. As far as specific details and plans, that's where me and my coach, talk a little bit more in detail about, the game plan. But other than that, man, just staying busy, staying ready for whatever comes.
You mentioned he's a tall guy, but you got to be used to working with tall guys because your brother, 6'2", your little brother, 6'2".
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we before I came up so I'm in DC to finish up my training camp up here with my manager, Lamont Roach Sr. But me and my brother managed to get a couple of rounds in before I came up here. And yeah, man, let me tell you, it's not fun. Even though I'm the older brother, he starts to bully me now.
That's little big bro, right?
Yeah.
I gotta ask, who's got the all-time higher winning percentage in sparring? I mean, it's sparring. You're not supposed to count that.
Well, if you count from when we were little kids, then you got to go with me.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, he may be the bigger guy, but he knows who Big Brother is.
That you mentioned Laurent Roach Sr. That's crazy. So you're managed by Laurent Roach Jr.'s dad, right?
Yes.
How'd that happen?
Well, honestly, so I've known them for a while through the amateurs. I've known him, and I knew Coach Boogaloo, who actually passed away a couple years ago. But he was always around in the amateurs. And actually, my brother, he went to go. So I went to fight overseas, and then my brother, he won the USA's when he turned 17, and so he was able to go to international competition along with Lamont Roach Jr. And I think Boogaloo was one of the coaches at the time for the team, and so he got to know my brother a little bit more. And my brother was the first one to go along with Lamont, and of course they knew about me as well, and so they ended up picking me up as well. So then me and my brother are both now signed with them.
For this next fight, whether it's Alex Martin or maybe another opponent, is it? Do you want 6 KOs in a row to keep that knockout streak going that you got?
Everybody will always want to KO. You can't beat that. But I just want to go in there and really just be able to give a good performance, look good. I've been out of the ring for a little over a year now. Hopefully that won't be a problem. I really do think like after the first round I'll be comfortable back in there. But I've just really focused on just going in there, getting that win, looking good, doing it. And that's really my priority, and of course, getting the win so we can keep it going.
Now, you were one of the best amateurs in the sport, in your division, got to the Olympic trials, the record we talked about earlier. So why have you had, just 10 fights in the 7 years as a pro?
Well, I was, of course, trying to make it to the Olympics. So I turned pro, I believe I was like 23 or something like that. So got a little late start, compared to all these young guys right now. Everyone's turning pro at 17, 16 if they can or whatever. Yeah. So that time I was barely ineligible for the 08 trial. So, I decided to stay. And of course I turned pro, but I wasn't signed right off the bat. So, I had to go find fights on my own. And then I had some manager problems, which had me sitting there for like 8-9 months, so there goes almost a year. But luckily, after that, I got in touch with Lamont and them. So, after that, then we got the ball rolling. So I had a little rough stuff at the beginning. So, yeah, that's why.
What is it about your skills, George, that you feel can compete with a Ramirez or a Taylor? If not now, soon.
Just believe that I have that ring IQ, that the ability. I think I'm a pretty smart fighter, and that's what really keeps me, up there with them. Like I said before, I do believe I have a good pop, and quickness in my hands. But really, what puts that all together is me being a smart fighter and a good boxer. So I think that's what makes me, one of the fighters that I believe that I can be in the top 10, in those top fighters.
And we've heard a lot of great fighters before. That's what a lot of boxing's about, right? Is be intelligence.
Right. Work smarter, not harder.
Who do you think will win that Ramirez Taylor fight, George?
I'm pulling for Jose. I think Jose is going to be.
Oh, sorry, cutting out just a sec.
Good.
So I got you.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, yeah. So you were saying that you're pulling for me. Forget pulling, George. You think he's gonna win?
Yeah, I think Jose. Yeah, I'm pulling for Jose, and I think he's gonna be the one who's gonna take it. He's an interesting fight to see, just because he's fighting against the southpaw, and see how how that goes. But I just see he's a smart fighter. Like I said, I saw him growing up a little bit in the amateur as well. But he's a really good finisher.
Mm-hmm.
Real strong, smart as well. So I do think that he's going to pull this one out and become undisputed.
Thoughts on the main event as well? Vergil Ortiz, fellow Texan, Texas fighter.
Both fellow Texas fighters.
Right.
I grew up.
Yeah.
I grew up with both of them too. A little bit more Vergil.
Right.
Through the amateurs and stuff. My dad trained him a little bit when he was younger, when they were in the gym with us.
Oh wow!
But
did you think this kid's dynamite back then, even, or he's too young?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Oh no, yeah. He was good growing up as a kid too. Real good kid. And now he's really strong. So I think that's what's gonna help him out in this fight. Maurice is former world champion now too, and I've seen him grow a lot as well in the pros. And I think that he's going to be a really good test for Vergil. He's going to give him a different type of style, and I think he might give him a little bit of problem at first, but I think Vergil's going to come out victorious on this one. With that power coming in, if he catches Maurice, he could definitely hurt him. So it's just really I think everyone's wanting to see how Maurice is going to fight Vergil and how that's going to go on.
Do you think Vergil, like you were talking about earlier with yourself, you mentioned he's got power. Do you think he'll have the intelligence to fight a Crawford one day, something like that?
Oh yeah, he's definitely a smart fighter as well. I mean, his power obviously is the thing that most people talk about, and it kind of overshadows his boxing ability. But he's got good footwork, good head movement. He's just an overall really good fighter. But he's very strong, and he's got really power behind his punches, which is a lot of people can see. So,
and lastly, George, before I let you go, just had to ask you about your health. I actually have seizures myself, but I read somewhere that they think you may have had a seizure after your last fight. Are you feeling okay? And was that not reported right? Or how are you feeling, George? Just wanted
to at first, I didn't know what they were saying, obviously, because I was in the fight and everything going on. But obviously after that fight and the incident that happened, went to the hospital, and we were still watching the fights on the phone. So we were listening to some commentating going on, and they didn't know what was going on, and they thought I guess people were saying that I had a seizure, but I didn't have a seizure. I just blacked out, which was kind of weird. It had happened before to me, but this was like years ago. So everything was fine. And I really, to this day, I still don't really know what happened. People were telling me they thought it was like an anxiety attack. But I've never really dealt with that. So, I can't say I know too much about those. But to me, when I think anxiety, I'm just thinking like freaking out. And I keep telling everybody, man, I was calm. Like, obviously I looked okay in the fight. I won the fight.
Won the fight.
So yeah, I won the fight.
Punishment
right. And funny thing is, whenever I came back too, after I had blacked out, I passed out. My first time, I'm on my back in the middle of the ring, and I'm thinking like, fuck, I got knocked out. And then I was like, no, I won. Right. This was like within 2 seconds, and I was like, but after that, I realized what had happened, and I was like, man, it sucked, but luckily, thank God that it happened after the fight, not during. It could have been worse, but got everything checked out, and everything, of course, was okay. Still don't really know what happened, but things were a little shaky. Kind of took things relaxed after the fight. Try to take some time, and but luckily everything's been okay since then. So. Let's just hope that was the end of that, and we just can move on forward. So,
well, the funny part about it, George, is like you wake up from it, and it's like, oh my God, did I lose? They're like, no, you won the fight. You just had a
yeah.
So you're just like, oh, okay.
Oh, I just passed out. Okay.
Right. Normally you'd be upset, but
right
on the fight. Okay, well, yeah, we go.
Yeah, I mean, at least I get back to that good news, and I'm like, all right, but yeah, so.
But so bizarre. I'm just happy, you're okay. Just happy you're okay, George. Thanks for.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
But anything else you want to say to boxing fans before you take the ring March 20th?
Man, I just want to thank everyone for supporting me. Especially my family and friends back home, always checking up on me and making sure I'm doing good. A lot of people don't really realize how much boxers got to endure, not even in the fight, but just getting ready for a fight, things like that. So just want to thank everybody. Of course, my manager, Lamont Roach Sr., always being very welcoming here during training camp, and just focused and ready to get back home and show out.
Thank you, George.
Yeah, I appreciate it.